or 369. So I'd be surprised if the Gwen doesn't go through right here for top esports.
Curious to see what top want to do here on blue side, as this is the side that they get to play on now that they have lost game number 2. That Gwen, as you mentioned, still available, and I think it would be a very easy situation to lock it in here.
Listen. If they were to pick between B1ing for 369, who's had an incredible series, or Kanavi, Lilia, Blind, if I was top esports, I would pick for 369 Gwen as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest here.
I mean, it's been a pick that's been so popular, so highly prioritized the entirety of 2025. It got a little bit of a hit specifically to the Q and maybe a little bit to the passive in terms of just monster camps, but I think still a very powerful champion here. As, hold on, we're getting a wild selection here.
Is that solo kill?
Is this a solo kill Akali into the Gwen? I feel like that's generally a pretty highly prioritized matchup, and I don't see Doinb playing this one.
There's no way you would blind pick Akali like this if he was for Doinb, and like Doinb wouldn't either, right? Okay, I guess we have Akali versus Gwen over on the top side of the map. Now, things that can really get priority down the bot lane, Jhin, the Kai'Sa without the Nico is not big on priority anymore. Corki as well, that has been hovered here, but we mentioned it earlier. Sejuani, it's gonna be of big importance right here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sejuani Yone locked in for the mid-jungle duo of top esports.
It's another mid-jungle 2v2 that just hasn't actually come into play. It's surprising a little bit that NIP don't lock that in, but that is going to be the selection for top esports. And if it is, it'll be a very dangerous one. Even with the Gwen, the Sejuani synergizes really well with, having those extra auto attacks, being able to proc that permafrost. I did a little quick research, Trouble, via Mobilytics. Shout out.
Okay.
Akali has a 59.3% win rate into Gwen in solo queue in lane.
Poof.
So
okay.
I kind of imagined, I kind of remember that being the case, but solo kill definitely has the opportunity to go a little crazy here.
Okay, I'm actually really excited about this matchup, and I hope the observers, when we walk into the game, actually show us a little bit of how it works, because I can't recall a Gwen versus Akali matchup, so I would love to learn about it with you guys. Now, Galio locked in for Doinb. Again, the guy is very team-oriented. He does like to play for side lanes. Galio does just that. Now, his matchup into Yone, not necessarily the best, as Galio is the best towards more AP-centered champions over in the mid lane. However, I feel like right here, NIP has to play mostly for the tops of the map. Looking Viego and Akali, you need to make sure these two win. So, possibly something safe for the bot lane of NIP, something like a Xayah potentially could come through for a leave and allow ppgod to sort of roam the map a little bit more to play for that top side.
Or will it be some of those other like Enchanter-dominated, lane-dominated bot lanes, things like Caitlyn are still on the table. If we want to go that direction here, specifically for NIP, I feel like that could maybe work, because you already have this like super skirmish-heavy top side, but I'm very curious to see. It seems like top esports kind of worried about that just a little bit, because they take away the Zeri and the Lulu, and so are NIP going to go full dive with the Kai'Sa still making it way all the way through this point of the Game 3 draft? Very surprising overall, but be a very fun lock-in here for Leave if he gets his hands on this one in Game 3.
I feel like it makes sense right here because your whole team is diving, but I'm thinking JackeyLove's gonna gravitate towards a Jhin potentially to just set up for his team and play as safe as possible, as many screens as possible away from things like Viego and Akali, right? Xayah, also a pretty potent AD carry down the bot lane, works really nicely into the Kai'Sa, especially the feathers are a big bully in the early game, and Rakan, I'm assuming, is going to be her pairing down the bot lane because it just makes absolute sense. You're not going to be playing versus any Enchanter right here because they have all been taken out. Particularly the Nico that is #1 together with Kai'Sa right now in terms of priority, but she's gonna go back to her good old pairings, which is anything that can engage. With Reyna and Alistar out the pool, Nautilus banned out, Leon is the only one that remains.
I've just seen this draft already, Trouble. I am so excited for what these team fights could potentially provide if we do get to that stage. Obviously, there are little nuances here or there that favor certain lane matchups for each team. I would say top lane definitely favored towards NIP with this Akali. Creme could have the good opportunity alongside Kanavi to really break open this mid lane. And the bot lane, I think, just volatile, all things considered. But if we could get to the point where these teams are even in gold and they're fighting full 5v5s, it's going to be electric. Such fun AoE crowd control ultimates that can be thrown around everywhere. Like, this is going to be awesome.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little worried for NIP side, because usually when you have a heavy dive composition, you also have a lot of CC. We're seeing like Vi and Bessa Galio, or things that can really lock you down while the Galio makes the big smackdown. Right here is not the case. Your only reliable CC from the side of NIP is that Leona. ppgod is going to be the start and end of it all if he doesn't get a good engage onto the backline. And even if he does, the champions are so elusive. The W coming through from Gwen, the ultimate coming through from Xayah. It's going to be a pretty tough game for NIP to make these dives work.
So we're entering the 9th best of 3 game 3 that has been played by Top Esports in their 13th series of Group Ascent. So despite the fact they're sitting at the top of the group stage here, consensus #1 team, I think, overall here in the LPL. Of course, your reigning champions, of course, in addition. They are still not fully in the clear just yet. They have struggled to really close that series cleanly. And we saw that in that second game against Ninjas in Pyjamas. But here in their home stadium, in Shenzhen, NIP are going to try to do the impossible. They're going to try to take a game 3 off Top Esports and send them to their 3rd loss of the split. We're on to the Rift for the final game between Top Esports and NIP.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Not many people use JackeyLove skin against JackeyLove and leave to tell the tale. That's all I'm gonna say.
That is true.
Although it's happened a lot this season, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's the most prominent skin for Kai'Sa that we see, like, in competitive play and also solo queue, right?
Is that like the ultimate sign of respect or the ultimate sign of disrespect to be playing?
I think both.
Into it?
It's kind of like, wow, your skin is so cool. I really respect you winning that world championship and making that skin. Good choice, man. But now I'm gonna beat you in it.
Yeah, it's almost like, hey, I could do this better than you kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like Leave overall tipping the cap a little bit before going on. I mean, it is a world champion. It's 2 world champions that he's playing up against in the bottom lane, JackeyLove and Crisp. And I'll be honest, he's been living up to those expectations. He's been matching up very well against them so far. Even though NIP has had a lot of problems, obviously, throughout the end of their first round robin and during the course of their 7-game loss streak, I think Leave has been playing particularly well for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And right here, they're going to have to show it, right? I feel like, again, NIP have a really, really tough task against Top Esports. They do have a very heavy dive, so the champion selection could be very easy for NIP as it's choosing Xayah or Rakan, whatever, to dive onto the backline. But if the CC doesn't lock them down for long enough, and the only one right there that you've got is Leona, again, ppgod's going to have to be so crucial in the fights to come later on. As we get a good look at how that top lane matchup goes, at least over in the early game. Looks pretty even to me, with 369 just pushing down that lane.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see kind of how this matchup really shapes out, because you can see right now 369 able to get the early push. I think pretty obviously there with the snips, but from my memory from a couple of years ago, because I feel like that's like the last time we've seen this be a really solid matchup for Akali, or people play the Akali in. I think it's just the fact that you can throw your Shuriken out, and even if the Shroud comes out for 369, you could kind of jump right back into melee range and kind of kite around the range of the Gwen specifically. I think that is, in general, the thought process here for solo kill in this matchup. Interesting to see that 369 went for the barrier. I feel like a lot of the time we see things like exhaust, thought maybe into the Akali that could be useful, but instead just trying to get a little bit of extra sustainability.
I feel like the barrier these days, especially down the bot lane, has been used to actually win trades early on. So I feel like for 369 here, it was very clever, because does he lose that trade early on to an Ignite Akali, he can actually pop the barrier to be able to push that lane out further. And I feel like, as you can see right here, that is a triple lane priority that Kanavi is playing with. Now, why does this suck for Aki? Well, he is playing Viego. He wants to have Rain all over his map. Talking about Rain, Rain might be too overextended. He gets hit by a taunt here.
Yeah, gonna get locked down by it. Justice Punch as well to combine the crowd control. Creme having to flash away from Aki. That's a big win for NIP in the mid lane.
Yeah, Kanavi was actually taking Scuttle Grab as ppgod.
Yeah, Chris actually has his grand entrance canceled there by ppgod. But JackeyLove will get a lot back there with the Blade Caller, so some decent damage chunks back and forth. Looks like no kills going to result either direction, so we're starting to get a little bit frisky here, Trouble, but I think both sides understand the stakes of this game. They understand what their composition want to do as well, so they're going to try to wait to the late game to really start to flip things.
Yeah, actually really impressed with Aki right here. Usually when you see Viego, you don't expect the Viego level 3 to show up behind you in the mid lane. You're expecting them to reset on the map as fast as possible, try to get the second reset of the camps going like he's doing right now. But since he did have that extra time after the Scuttle Crab and Creme was stressed that far forward over in that mid lane, Doinb is more than enough setup, right, for that Viego to come through. And with Flash not available onto Creme right now, you see how he actually had to use his soul to push that wave, now reset over in the mid lane as well, just to stay as safe as possible. Level 6 will be where Creme will most likely be able to push that mid lane again without necessarily the fear of Aki wrapping around.
He does have teleports right back in. He is feeling a little bit safer now that Kanavi is around the mid lane. Dragon was tickled a little bit by Aki, but they don't want to fully commit to that one.
I think he tried to tame him, but it didn't work.
Yeah, that's not. I feel like that's not really Viego's thing. I feel like
yeah, true. He likes swords
like
more. Swords
like
are his thing.
Yeah. Tristana, Dragon Trainer Tristana maybe can do that a little bit more. What's interesting here about these compositions, though, Trouble, the fact that while they're both late game team, they both thrive in terms of team fights. They both want to do things a little bit differently, right? NIP very focused on the resets for Aki. That's the key thing that'll help NIP get involved in this game. And so they're going to try to burst down some of these priority targets, and they have the tools to do so with a lot of long-range crowd control from ppgod as well as Doinb to follow up. So very curious to see how exactly they're going to try to single out targets and start fights. Whereas top esports, I think, are a little bit more comfortable with just grouping together as 5 and just playing a very standard role back.
Yeah, they can also play side lane if they want to, right? They can play the front to back. Zaya is very safe, but they can also play for side lanes as well, as Aki is gonna greet Kanavi over in the river.
Crab was picked up here by Kanavi regardless. Hero Tetris comes out and forces Kanavi to flash away. And now Creme could be in a little bit of trouble. He goes forward here with the Fate Sealed, knowing that ppgod is here on the way as well. They lock down Aki and pick up first blood for top esports. Creme somehow still alive. This Yone just refuses to die as the Glacial Prison comes out from Kanavi. And ppgod next on the menu. Another knockup comes through from Crisp. Doinb in a lot of trouble. The Permafrost comes through. And it's going to be Crisp not getting the kill, as the tower will force him away, but still a 2-0 for TES.
2 kills going over to top esports, and Crisp saving the day the last second possible. Has to flash through, heal, knock up, Guardian procs, everything to try and save Creme. And now Creme level 7, an entire level up, 1 kill over. It's gonna be a very, very scary Yone to deal with, and these 2v2 start very, very grim, and the second Kanavi flashes through. And since that ppgod is behind him as well, as we're gonna see the replay right here. Kanavi overextends just a little bit, trying to take a trade onto Aki, but that's a level 6 from Gallius, who dives straight in. And when Kanavi flashes out, he's like, oh shoot, ppgod is here, we actually have to commit. Once they commit, Crisp is right behind him. He dives in, the Guardian shields, the E-shields, huge heal coming through, the knock-up. They all keep Creme alive for that huge trade that gives 2 kills on like top esports.
And what a play overall by top, but specifically seeing the power of the Sejuani Yone combo. There's a reason we highlighted it as soon as they selected it. Nicely done by Kanavi to prioritize targets correctly with that Permafrost, find stuns on the basically everybody throughout that fight with the help of Creme. And that gets him a kill. That gets top esports a 2,000 gold lead 8 minutes into this one. And now NIP in a serious hole, all things considered.
It's actually very hard to play Viego or any type of farming champion when you do not have priority lanes, and NIP right here on red side, they really drafted for 3 losing lanes, whilst Kanavi is just looking at Aki again. Now it's a pure 1v1. Aki's one level up though.
Kanavi, what a Giga Chat. Going to Sejuani and trying to invade the Viego is insane behavior, but something we can expect from Kanavi, I suppose. They're going to run back to the grubs and pick those up, so top esports just continuing to dominate on all facets.
It's actually going to get a little bit scarier right here, because if Viego does get the resets, talking about resets, hold up. This is I'm in trouble. Kanavi's heading up river.
able to back on out there really nicely. The barrier saving him a little bit as well. Solo kill trying to use that second proc with perfect execution, but we'll just use it defensively to get on out of there. Very quietly here as well. 369, despite being in this supposed counter matchup, actually up 20 CS.
Aki is sticking around. Potentially trying to defend over... Yeah, over Kanavi, maybe being over the top side of the map. Potentially a dive right there. So, talking about a dive, Top Esports is respecting the bot lane potential dive that is happening. Now, every time a Viego gets picked, this is probably like one of the hardest champions you can play, specifically into a non-so-squishy team and a very elusive team, such as Top Esports have right here. The resets do not come to you as easily, but if they do, I always like to see the value of those souls that Viego can get to pick up and how those continue the fights. As you can see over the Yone, the Sejuani, the Rakan, all three of those are so valuable for Aki to actually pick up and continue the fight forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you can take down Creme early on, like that's certainly going to be very valuable here in terms of all the utility, all the damage that you can provide. Even if you kill Chris first, like getting a knockup or like having that extra mobility on the Viego before you jump right back in with the Heartbreaker will be big as well.
Oh,
and then you're going to try to start off this Dragon. Creme jumping over, but they know the Kanavi's not here, so it should be secured very easily here by NIP. So that's the first objective, first part of the map that they are actually able to claim. But everything else has really gone Top Esports' way so far.
And the later this game goes, the harder again it will be, right? The bloodthirsters are going to start coming through, or the shield ball rather, sorry, with the big shield is going to come through, since one is going to get too tanky. You're going to have defensive items from two Rakans. Yeah, Isaias is just going to press R. Same for Gwen, it's just going to go snip, snip. You're not going to be able to touch her in her W. Tough game for NIP, tough game. Already at 2,500. Gold lead, 11 minutes in, and that's pure lane pressure. Apart from the 2 kills mid lane, that is pure lane pressure on the other side of the map.
Yeah, look at the places that don't have kills. Top and bot. 20 CS leads in both areas, as well as turret plates being taken here by JackeyLove and Chris. Cleave and ppgod have not found the angles that they've wanted to engage into this Xayah Rakan and are struggling because of it. As you now see Solo Kill going for a play on the 369, but he's taking a lot of damage from the scissors of the Gwen. The needlework actually forcing Solo Kill to head back to base after he was the one who initiated the play.
All right. I'm actually very curious on how this sort of matchup gets turned around, because I feel like the stats do speak for themselves, right? The champion is really good into Gwen, the Akali into the Gwen. However, I have seen 369 absolutely hold up.
The ppgod, they already have used the cleanse here for the Xayah, but ppgod going a little bit too far forward as Kanavi comes in with the Glacial Prison. Aki joining the fight, but there's no opportunity for a reset just yet. Jackie still has his flash and the Featherstorm available, so it's just so hard to take the Xayah down.
And still, with the Kanavi around, they get to push down that tower. ppgod has to reset. They're looking for potential knock-up, maybe. The QE lands, but JackeyLove on
Playing
trouble.
aggressive. Oh, what a flash! In on to JackeyLove, forcing in that Killer Instinct in from Leave. They go forward. The blade color's big, but it's not big enough. Leave flashes the way for the grand entrance and will survive. NIP get on the board at last.
Oh man, Top Esports really didn't trust there on Jackie landing the E. Onto Leave and Aki. Could have been a case of them trading back kills. But I feel like they kind of left JackeyLove to die right there. Like, that's not the Kanavi I'm used to, right? The Kanavi that dives forward and trades a kill onto Sejuani, that's more like it. But right there, Top Esports, I feel like they played it a little bit too safe, knowing that JackeyLove still has E and could get a trade back. Nevertheless, NIP get their first kill, and this watches one more time. The W is going to miss right here from Crisp, and this is where NIP are starting to play a little bit more aggressive. There is flash and ultimate onto Jackie, which he could have dodged right here, but he chooses to use it right there, and the E, a Blade Caller, will tag Leave. That could have very easily been a kill response onto Leave right there as well. Not quite the case, NIP get away with it.
Kanavi just didn't want to join or try to maybe risk his life for
not the
just another one-for-one trade. So that was... I think when you play Sejuani, you get put in a different state of mind, right? You're like, I'm not the main character.
Oh, don't tell me you haven't seen him go all in on Sejuani. He literally just invaded and 1v1 the Viego.
You're right. This team wants to go for a little bit more this time around, as here comes Solo Kill, finally going to try to find a matchup here into 369. With the help of ppgod, he will even up the kill score and continue to allow for NIP to start their way towards a comeback.
Alright, we said from the beginning, this all starts and ends with ppgod. If ppgod finds target, hits target, locks them down, that's where NIP can actually capitalize on those kills. They tried to do it over in the bot lane, didn't work, they punish. 369, of course, no mobility summoner spells for the Gwen means that you can very easily pin him down once W has been used. And that was the case right there. They get another kill onto the map, very crucially onto the Akali, who has built an item that I haven't seen in a very long time. Storm Surge completed.
Wow, yeah.
Kill.
I mean, that's like a very classic Akali build. I just feel like we haven't seen it too much in the meta just yet. I imagine like a rocket belt to maybe help close the gap as well onto some of these backline targets. Could be in the works next, or maybe just full continuation of AP burst damage builds. Maybe a Rift Maker or something like we've seen top lane Akali's go in the past. A lot of options you could go. I feel like mage items in a decent spot right now, or assassin items, I should say, for somebody like Sage in this situation.
You say that, but I still miss Gunblade, man. I'll never be able to recover. That's the story.
You gotta let it go, Trouble. It's been 7 years.
Any Akali player ever can relate. Trust me. Now, of course, we have Dragon up. About 5 seconds. It's literally spawning right about now. Herald up at the same time. Top esports items. Item a piece on the left side. Item a piece on the right side. Actually, 369 a little bit delayed with that kill onto him over on the top side of the map. He will not have his first item completed onto this Gwen. That's how the teleport to join, and as NIP commit onto this Rift Herald, I think Kanavi's gonna take the hint right here and head towards the boss of the map to grab the shot.
Still see Chris and Jackie fishing just a little bit, but there's no shot that they go in 4v2. Instead, gonna be the trade of the Dragon for Herald this time around. And now we'll see what NIP can do with it, because they are losing their mid lane tier 1 as a result. I'm sure it was already just one auto attack was being taken down regardless. But if they can burst open a tower, try to get back a little bit of gold, that is going to really help Ninjas in Pyjamas right now, because they are still suffering in terms of just the money that is in favor of top esports, and they could be even more trouble now as Solo Kill's getting targeted via a dive. Creme dashes forward, still unbound, but there's 2 members of NIP on the way to try to defend this, and a teleport coming in from Doinb as well. Not going to be able to get canceled by 369, so a full fight's going to be opened up here. Chris pops the quickness, going to try to look to go onto the back line, but instead is going to get canceled in by Doinb. Now 5 members of top esports hunting around the area after the Dragon has been claimed, so 369 burning his teleport as just a response to try to make sure that NIP don't find anything more.
Was that TP from 369? Nothing was happening. Everyone was out. Chris committed his TP just to make sure NIP don't move forward from that dry bush. Now Creme has to burn his to actually push out that top lane, as 369 is going to stick down bot lane since he TP'd over there. So Tempo still on the side of top esports right here, but not much to fight for right there. They looked for a dive. They couldn't pull it off. They actually... a good call off on the dive, but now Creme might be under a little bit of threat. Does have the flash and the ult available to him. It's not very easy to pin down a champion like Yone. Now, the one thing that I really don't like is when Galio is there for the fight. It becomes a little bit difficult to be as impactful with your ultimate when you're already there and you're just standing still in front of so many members that can cancel you. So I would like to see NIP actually get a little bit more creative with that Galio ult usage.
Looks like they're going to head right back to this bottom lane. Very easily take down that tier 1 turret. Top lane is close to going down as well. So top esports, you could see what the lane pressure that they were able to generate has turned into as we are approaching the 20-minute mark of this game. Despite the kills being even, top are ahead 3,500 gold. And those are going to become important markers once we get to those 2-item power spikes for some of our carries. Creme specifically benefiting massively as he's, I think, 12 CS a minute at this point. And with the help of Kanavi, he's going to get even more gold with this tier 1 turret going down up top.
Yeah, Creme is Chovy again for this game. And of course, let's not forget feats of strength as well. With the first tower, you're pretty much as much as a kill away or a neutral objective away. Whilst NIP need both to get one for themselves. And 369 is going to be the target for the dive down there, as 4 members of NIP are closing by, as well as the 3 Herald. They've got 5.
Solo Kill starting it off with that perfect execution first proc. Looks like they're going to try to burst down the tower first. No, they're going to instead go right for the Gwen, and they will take him down. It will be also the tier 1 tower down in the bot lane. 369 down for the count for the next 30 seconds. 3 members of top esports hovering around to try to defend this. Meanwhile, we have Creme pushing onto that tier 2 turret up on the top side. have to be responded too soon, but instead it'll be Creme backing off, and NIP headed back to base with that victory.
Good dive right there from NIP, committing 5 members. So I'm counting the referral to that as well. Over on that dive, they take the tower, they take another kill. The kill goes over to Akali, who's very close to that second item as well. And solo kill could be a real threat for that backline of Top Esports. Now again, it hasn't gotten any easier to pin him down. However, Aki has made it to that Trinity Force. We have 8 stacks and a lot of ages onto Doinb's Galio. And NIP could slowly but surely be getting towards those item power spikes. I think 2 are at least needed for their team to truly try and assassinate backlines for Top Esports.
Yeah, not there just yet though. And we'll see if that means that they're willing to give up this next dragon potentially spawning in a minute 20, or ppgod gonna get caught up before then, as he was just trying to ward a little bit, man. And here comes the hero's entrance in response. Ninjas in Pyjamas looking to try to find the fight as Kanavi is getting targeted. ppgod will live, but he finally will go down as he flashes over the wall a little bit too late. Aki, the one to pick up the kill. He gets his first reset here of this fight, but they will not look for anything more after just the 1-for-1.
Haha, remember the Kanavi that wouldn't flash forward to kill support? There he is. Right there.
He is.
I mean, at this point, he was way too far into the fight. Way overextended, so he had to at least trade a kill right there. You see how easy it is for NIP to fight these skirmishes? Once they're all done in a very tight choke point, Galio ult was massive. They were able to pin people down. ppgod baited them too far in, and now they're doing Atakan. 369 on bot lane with no TP, and there's nothing Top Esports can do to stop this one.
Yeah, this one likely just going to go down. However, it doesn't go down super quickly, but now that Leave has arrived, I think that there is no position where Kanavi will be able to steal this one away. So yes, Atakan going the way of Ninjas in Pyjamas. That is a big win for them. And despite the fact that they're down in gold, this is a very even game state in the decider between these two teams.
Most gold lead in the game right now. He's on to Creme. Almost 2,000 gold over his counterpart. 2 items in. You said how strong Yone becomes on 2 to 3 items. 3rd item as well completed right there would be absolutely insane for the Yone. True carry material. And again, the scaling is with the side of Top Esports. The more forward back, the harder to dive. However, if NIP can manage to somehow snowball that lead that they've got over on Akali, play for solo kill, play around that side lane, play around that Akali, try to set up for him. As you can see, ppgod already on it on the top side, laying down some vision for that Akali to play through that side lane.
Yeah, big game, big moment for solo kill, right? Who is the new addition to this NIP team. It seemed like things weren't working so well with Shanji, who was a part of this core that NIP were rolling out with for a large portion of the last couple of years. Actually, former teammates of Creme back on OMG as well. Like, this is a core that players that have been together for a while. But now, suddenly that is being switched up a little bit. Now there's that extra bit of synergy with solo kill and Leave. Former teammates on EDG kind of coming together. All these little bits and pieces for NIP as they were trying to grasp at a situation with their season potentially falling apart. And so far, things are looking better than they were. However, still some work to be done as they are still down a little bit here in this Game 3 decider against Top Esports. And remember, even though this has been a close series, this is the 1st place team against the 9th place team. In terms of the standings right now, that just kind of goes to show what an upset this would be.
Oh, Doinb. Lucky again, there's only a jungle and a support in that brush, as they were seeing Creme over the top side, 369 over in the bot lane as well. No TP for that Gwen as well. There is no neutral objective, and I see your point right here. We're talking about a Top Esports that was dominant, right? Like, their win-loss says the tale. 10-2 as they find ppgod.
Yeah, another time the ppgod's been caught out, but the Eclipse healing him up, or keeping him alive for a long time. Finally, Chris gonna come in with a quickness. The Grand Entrance comes out. The Leona is living for so long. Finally, the stray feather from Jackie will be the final blow on to the support for NIP. The response on the other side of the map won't be as much as what Top Esports were able to do with 3 grubs. They take down the top lane tier 2, Creme, the one to be the big beneficiary of it as the gold continues to stack his way.
Hold up, that was 4 members of Top Esports and 3 ults committed to kill that Leona with no flash, and it still took so damn long to take ppgod down. Have we seen a replay over on the bot side of the map? Doinb versus 369. Oh, 369 is just gonna... Okay, he's just gonna TP away.
He tried to cancel the TP.
Just like that.
So close.
Cold-blooded.
So no ulti for Aki for the next little bit. In case you wonder why he got caught out without using the ulti in the next 30 seconds or so. It looks like it's not going to matter too much as he's heading back to base. We got our Baron up in 30 seconds as well. At this point, Trouble, if you're an IP, you've got 2 items on all of your big carries. You just now see that Collector being picked up for Aki, so they're really trying to prioritize locking people down and finding these resets. So the go button has to be pressed soon. It's just, are top esports going to allow NIP to find these catches? Or are they going to be able to play the map well enough to make sure they're never in a situation to get singled out?
Yeah, as you can see, ppgod is the one leading them every time, right? So top esports can manage to eliminate ppgod from the front line. They eliminate a lot of the pressure as Crisp is on his own.
Aki gets charmed up. Oh, this teleport is aggressive! Coming in from Doinb. He's tanking it up with the Aftershock. Will be able to survive the initial onslaught here with the permafrost coming through. ppgod dashing forward. He likely will be the sacrifice. The solo kill going to try to save this team fight. JackeyLove very low. The perfect execution still to be used. He whiffs it, but still is able to get the kill out of the Xayah. And in comes the backline dive. Solo kill gets another. A knockup comes through from Aki. Creme on the run. It's just the solo laners left alive for top esports. The shield boat's been popped, but the taunt comes through. NIP find 4.
What an incredible fight right here from NIP. Doinb TP'd in the middle of the entirety of TES. But he's so tanky. The Rift Maker, the fully stacked Rod. Level 15 plus 1 from Rod. 2 points. Sorry, 3 points of that ult as well. And NIP will win the fight, take the Baron. Put a firm foot in this game and top esports. How do you flop that? Crisp committing everything onto Aki. But Creme could not follow after. He had to snap back onto his actual body. And that is your engage gone with Crisp's ult down. And then they overcommitted to Doinb. Let's have a look at solo kill right there, because he does find a way to sneak onto JackeyLove. So much damage just by that Akali. That was a great ult by Jackie right there, but the perfect execution didn't whip. He dodged the E coming through from all the feathers down from Jackie and just killed him with the Q. That was fantastically played by solo kill.
Yeah, on the Akali being the big disruptor there, and Doinb able to provide a lot as well, setting up Aki, peeling for his Viego. And now Ninja Pyjamas have themselves a Baron buff. They've evened up this gold count, and they're looking poised to continue their momentum here in this game number 3 to build a win streak after their 7-match loss streak. They pick up the second dragon. Still more work to be done. Top esports still has that scaling front-to-back composition. They still are approaching those third items on Creme and JackeyLove. But NIP certainly have an angle here. They certainly have an opportunity to take this series.
Oh, that was their perfect fight, right? Aki got a bunch of shutdowns right there as well. Sorry, resets with that Viego. That was a dream fight for NIP. Reminder, top esports still 1,000 gold up. 2,000 gold onto Creme's Yone. We need to see domestic Creme performance. He has not stepped up to it. Very, very close to his Infinity Edge as well. He's using a pickaxe and the extra gold to buy the item. But once he does, he's pressing B right now. He might have it even in the shop. He actually needs to show up right here. Unfortunately for top esports, even though Creme has been farming a lot, he has been quite invisible in these fights for the entirety of this series. And I think if top esports want to pull off this win, Creme needs to show up.
Gonna have to. He's in a good position too right now. 3 full items have just been completed here for the Yone. That Infinity Edge going to provide a lot. But it's still looking like NIP could potentially find some good opportunities here. Doinb look for a taunt, but instead gonna get hit up by the Glacial Prison. He's now getting singled out. He's getting targeted. And Creme finds a huge last breath. Here comes Doinb. He's still alive though on the backline, but will go down to Creme. 369 has a needlework proc. 3 top esports are looking to push forward. ppgod is down. Solo kill never found the angle. And a massive loss for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
They're pinging him. They're pinging him. The Noki's around. Top esports are playing very carefully right there. Huge pick onto Doinb. It's not going to necessarily result into anything. There's no neutral objectives for the taking on the map right now. However, it stopped the siege from NIP. They still had a Baron buff on top of them. Top Esports shut that down. Creme with a fantastic ult right there to stop the follow-up from NIP, and we're starting to get glimpses of how strong he is on these champions like Yone. Chris goes in with the ult. He's gonna miss, and Top Esports are gonna back off.
Very far forward there from Chris. It could have been disastrous if he got locked down by any sort of crowd control, but he did force the flash out of leave. That's a big cooldown that will no longer be available in 2.5 minutes time. When we have both the Hextech Dragon and the Baron Nashor spawning. Oh man, what a wild game that we have had. What a series that we've had together here, Trouble, between these two teams. Definitely not what I was going to expect coming in, given that NIP have been struggling and Top Esports are the #1 team in the league, but just goes to show. This LPL Ascend group is so competitive, so entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. And honestly, I feel like everyone is very pleasantly surprised that this series was just not a wash from Top Esports, just absolutely stomping NIP. This is a very, very unconventional draft that we've seen from NIP. Solo kill, R1ing the Akali, and showing up like this in the teamfights has been incredible to watch. And maybe this is the flair that NIP wanted when they looked for a new top lane, and Solo kill is absolutely bringing that here. Game 2 on the Ambessa, Game 3 with the Akali. I feel like if he can again find an angle on JackeyLove, we saw how easily he was just able to just solo kill him. I mean, no pun intended, but he does fit the name here.
That's why, you know, the Scion maybe doesn't fit him as well, brand-wise. You know, like we want solo kill on champions that he's able to do some solo killing on, if you know what I mean. Because on the Akali, he definitely hasn't been prioritized his farm here, but it's, I think it's about 80 CS behind. But when you're farming the champions, when you're farming JackeyLove, that's all you need. As Lee's, remember, doesn't have that flash, so has to be very careful about how he's positioned when he decides to go forward. Because if he dives in at the wrong time, there's a ton of tools that Top Esports have at their disposal to try and take him down. And if he dies, that's a big loss for NIP as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like right here we're about to see a dance around Dragon and Baron. It's just going to be soul point for both teams, right? So technically this Dragon has a lot of value and not really, because if you're gonna trade it for Baron and lose a bunch of towers, then your soul point kind of gets nulled because you're not gonna be able to walk out of your base, right? However, if you manage to secure that Dragon without trading it for Baron, that's a huge win for both of these teams, that they're both sitting on 2 dragons each. Now, Top Esports, you see they're trying to establish some vision. I'm very surprised to see Chris walking ahead of Kanavi right there, but ppgod might get caught.
ppgod, he's the one going forward here with the Zenith Blade. Gonna try to just let Doinb enter the backline with the hero's entrance. JackeyLove already popping that Featherstorm, but Leaf died on the backline. Now it's Creme trying to dash forward, save the fight here for Top Esports, but solo kill comes through and finds a double kill. Now Creme in 369, this lone survivor team from top. As it's a 3 for 2 overall in favor of NIP. Doinb will go down as the teleport falls short. The last proc of the needlework will do the deed, and Top Esports will hold the line and make it an even numbers fight.
Oof, and Aki started the Dragon the second that Doinb went down. He actually had to bail, and that is going to be a Dragon for Top Esports, and what a fight! I feel like JackeyLove really gritted his ultimate right there when Doinb landed down from his ultimate, as we're gonna see again, I'm assuming in the replay. And he didn't expect the damage coming through that Galio. He was the only one actually hitting him. 3-item Galio does a lot of damage. Let's watch this one more time. ppgod could overextend, but he will extend the engage onto JackeyLove. The land from Galio is going to be perfect. JackeyLove doesn't hold that, and he eats a bunch of damage from Doinb's Galio, which he doesn't expect. So once he greets the ultimate right there, Solo kill knows that the backline is pretty wide open for that Akali to slide through and get 2 kills for himself. Now the unfortunate part is that Creme arrived, and it became really difficult for NIP to push any more kills. Doinb tried to run away, but wasn't the case, which means that Aki could not finish that Dragon, and he went over to Top Esports.
It's creating a very awkward situation where both AD carries don't really enjoy playing League of Legends right now, Trouble, because there's so many tools on both squads' disposal to just dive in onto the backline AD carry. You have solo killing and Doinb for NIP. You have this Yone for Creme that's going crazy here in some of these late game team fights, picking up a spirit position to make sure he does not go down to the likes of solo kill. The Dragon was picked up here by Top Esports. Baron is still alive. Whoever can claim that one will receive a huge amount of pressure and opportunity to really break the base open of their opposition.
talking about pressure right here, Solo Kill has, ppgod has a lot of that on his shoulders, right? Again, he is the be-all of NIP. His engaged are so crucial, but also if he face checks too hard and goes down, and NIP lose that as the Baron gets started right here, and NIP are going to have to look for a way. Crisp is looking.
Aki's got to get in there somehow. It's at 3,000 HP. Get in there, Aki. Try to steal it away. No! It's secured by Kanavi. And Aki will go down without picking up a singular reset. Solo Kill in some trouble. He dashes in, though. Leaves, somehow finds a double before he hits the grave. But it's not going to matter enough as 369 still up and running. Doinb's in trouble. And it's going to be the fight win for Top Esports.
The quiet carry for Top Esports 369 with an insane series and a quadra kill to show off on this Gwen. 6-2-2 after this fight. But the true hero of that fight was Creme keeping Solo Kill out of that fight up until the very end. If that Akali had joined any earlier, we're going to be talking about a completely different series. He keeps him out and he takes his hourglass as now 369 and Creme are looking to potentially take double inhibitor right there and leave NIP's base in shambles.
The Waves were in slightly better positions. Maybe Top Esports could have ended things, but instead, likely going to be double inhibitors picked up for themselves, or maybe just the one. Creme stalled out a little bit on that play. Did not fully sync up to the mid lane in time, and so it will just be that inhibitor taken in the top lane, and Top Esports backing away with the Baron buff in just 2 of their members' hands. And the gold lead back up to a decent mark, but at this point, gold doesn't matter at all. It's just about how these champions are able to operate in these things. Starts off here, Aki very late to the play. The spike secured by Kanavi. And then again, take a look at what Creme's able to do on the backline here on the Yone.
Yeah, he takes the hourglass from Solo Kill. He keeps him out. That is very important because 369 gets so much free damage. Leave so short range on this guy. So the second he dives in, he gets snipped apart. And Solo Kill, he could have changed the whole course of the fight had he been allowed to join earlier. But Creme, what a fantastic flank right there to keep that Akali out of the fight as much as possible.
The Soul Laners right now, eating good. If you're a Top Esports fan, 369 and Creme have been monumental in allowing for their team to be at the position that they're in right now, to try to make it 8-1 in terms of Game 3 victories in the group stage of the LPL split number 2. However, NIP still have something to say about it. ppgod whips on the Solar Flare. Teleport coming through the backline from Doinb. Will use that hero's entrance, but it's only going to knock up Kanavi. Can they try to lock down the Sejuani? Instead is Creme going forward with the fate sealed, but going back, it is 369 who ends up going down a Solo Kill, and the numbers advantage now in favor of Ninjas and Pyjamas.
Oh, Doinb!
He flashes forward, finds a ton of the Creme. Oh, look at JackeyLove. Jackie's untouched. Jackie's popping off, and Creme's here to save it as well. JackeyLove on the Zaya, the hero at the end of the day. It's an ace picked up for NIP, and they will march down the bottom lane and put an end to NIP.
No one gets to play JackeyLove skin versus JackeyLove and live to tell the tale. For 3 team fights back to back to back, a different carry from Top Esports has showed up to help them take that series to an end finally.
Another Game 3, but another win for Top Esports, and NIP might be looking better, but they still are not the best, and that is what TES are right now. 11-2 here in the second round robin. They bounce right back from their loss against AL, and Top Esports win the series 2-1 over Ninjas and Pyjamas in their home arena.
Wow. What an absolute incredible performance again from 369. He came from a laning phase where he wasn't favored. He kept slowly but surely chipping up those advantages onto the Gwen, and he became monstrous. So was that late game. I wanted to see more from Creme. We saw some glimpses right there, like a 4.5k gold lead. Yone should definitely be more prominent on our screens, right, in terms of the plays. But I feel like even the quiet plays that he made, keeping Solo Kill out, not allowing the Akali to join, taking his hourglass, I feel they definitely helped. But that particular last fight looked very scary, man. That was a full all-in on a Sejuani, and it almost worked.
And they had the 5v4 for a little bit. Doinb finding the taunt onto Creme. You thought maybe, just maybe, NIP were going to be able to win that fight, start some sort of miracle comeback here. But JackeyLove, kind of the unsung hero throughout this entire game specifically. It was all about 369, but he ended up dying first. It was then trying to dive in and pick up some more kills. But JackeyLove, they forgot about him. and you never forget about JackeyLove, or else bad things happen to you.
Hey, there's two things that can happen, right? Either JackeyLove's going to completely bait you by that misfortune where he just overextended, he's like, an ambulance, but not for me because I'm under my tower now and you're in trouble. Or he's just going to be a complete hero in this fight. You're going to completely forget about him because he hasn't necessarily been the hero of that game, and then he's going to come back. And I feel like that sort of last team fight showed you how the composition worked from the side of top esports, where it's just so difficult to kill the members. And if you don't dive into the backline, take that JackeyLove ult with the Galio, it's just so difficult to kill him. He's just going to pump out so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, that last fight just demonstrated that power there. Creme also doing a lot to try to buy some space with, you know, some of the other front lines not a part of that fight for top esports, and it ended up working out pretty well for them at the end of the day. So they jump up to 10-2 overall here in the standings, or I think it's 11-2 now.
11-2, yeah.
And they are looking like continuing to be the team to beat in the LPL. Obviously, there are teams that are able to contest them. They have played 9 game number 3s. They have gone to positions where they had their backs up against the wall, where they were in a do-or-die situation, but they've always been able to come out on top, at least for the most part, and we'll see if that continues to be the case. They have another tough task in their next matchup. They play JDG just this Sunday, I believe, so that's going to be a fun one.
You know what the funniest thing is? I feel like top esports is the most beatable, unbeatable team in the LPL.
Right.
It's just like we make it into a meme, but that's actually the case, right? Like NIP straight up outhands them in game number 2, and JackeyLove with 33 almost K damage. And mind you, like SoloKill had his number in a lot of these fights, and he still managed to pump that much. Unfortunately, I didn't necessarily see the Viego hype in this game, and Aki wasn't really able to capitalize because there weren't many kills going NIP's way. Like a bunch of skirmishes that they won, a bunch of dives that they won, but that Viego never really truly came online. And I know that he is one of the most prominent champions that Aki really likes to play. However, I will say not his most successful. Maybe I would have liked to see a Wukong here that would have solidified sort of the Wukong CC falling right on top of that, but wasn't quite the case.
Yeah, I mean, Leave played this game, again, very well in the Kaisa. Not able to eventually find the end goal of a victory here, but him and SoloKill, I think, are the standouts for NIP at the end of the day. Kind of have been ever since, you know, this new iteration of the roster kind of came into fruition, but these team fights were so fun, so explosive. It was exactly what we were hoping for to wrap up the day here on LPL.
It was a fantastic pleasant surprise, especially I wasn't expecting to see that game number 3 coming through from NIP. Their draft so difficult to execute when you're playing with like 2 assassins on the map and a bunch of champions that want resources like the Kaisa. Just so difficult to execute. The early game is the big downside to play this composition, right? Like no lanes of prio, you're just stuck in your own jungle, can't make a lot of plays. But I feel like NIP really did show us that they have hands in this series, and particularly in that game number 2, it really did show. When the drafts were even, when the game was even, NIP came out on top. So I'm actually really excited for this NIP iteration. I feel like SoloKill has a lot to show, and I'm really liking those Easter eggs that he throws in there, particularly with the Akali top lane.
Yeah, if that becomes like a little pocket pick that SoloKill can whip out, if that creates a situation where you're scared to blind Gwen into NIP, or you have to ban the Akali before locking in the Gwen, you know, all of a sudden that's a bit of a difference that can be made in the draft phase by bringing in a new top laner like this here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. If we continue to see some of these fights work out decently well for NIP until maybe they don't here. Again, Leave trying his best. He somehow is able to find a double kill before going down here to 369, who's just in melee range of him. So he deserves some love for that play specifically too.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Leave has been the shining star for NIP. I feel like even in their losses, right? And if I'm not wrong right here, it was NIP versus top esports, with top esports not being able to close out the game with Baron and Elder on them, only 2 Nexus towers remaining for NIP, and then they turn it around with Leave's Lucian actually being the one that turns the whole play around. So these 2 teams have a history of bangers, and apparently they never do disappoint. So if you were here and watched this with us, first of all, tell us who you think the MVP could potentially be. And second, I'm pretty sure that everyone is very happy that this series went all the way with such an exciting ending to the game as well.
Yeah, that last fight, just seeing what JackeyLove was able to do with all the space that his teammates did provide for him. After, by the way, 369 got taken down, and that, I mean, if you're NIP, you have to go for that fight at that point. You're down 8,000 gold. You got to try to take advantage of the fact that the biggest carry for the enemy team was out of the picture. But there was another big carry. His name is JackeyLove, as the staple franchise player for Top Esports, once again coming out on top here as they win this series and win yet another one here in the LPL Ascend group. As we get our player of the game to wrap up the show, it is going to be Creme on the Yone. He had some good moments, I will say, but I don't know. It was a closely considered one, I think, in any sense. I could see.
Hell nah. 369 and Jackie got hella robbed here.
Fair enough.
Okay, all jokes aside, okay, Creme can give us these sort of performances, but he hasn't necessarily been running on all cylinders, and now that you've seen Top Esports ramping up into playoffs, they need to do really well there, considering how close a lot of these best of 3 series have been with a lot of the other contenders around that 2nd to 6th to 7th place even in their group right now. So this is a time to ramp up, take that performance, take that MVP, and absolutely go pedal to the metal. Pedal.
It's a couple of more series left to go here for all of these teams in Group Ascend. We see, of course, Top Esports jumping up to 11-2 NIP, down to 3-9, although I think they can still overall be very proud of their performance here today, and hope that the rest of the regular season provides a little bit more success for them. And that's going to do it here for our time today on LPL English. It was a fun couple of series. We started things off with FPX taking a 2-0 over Thunder Talk, and then this wild one between Top Esports and Ninjas in Pyjamas. I believe we have standings in a little bit, but in order to wait to make sure that we have those fully updated tomorrow, make sure you tune right back in here at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific, our usual time, 10 a.m. GMT. We are starting things off with FPX taking on NA1's Legends, and then IG facing off against WE. Both matchups of some of our personal favorites going up against some big underdogs, but we've seen that not necessarily work the way you're expecting here today, as you saw with NIP playing a close one against Top Esports. And speaking of, here's our updated standings. Going into another day of games here as we're getting close to the end of week number 6, Trouble.
Ooh, look at that, man. Like, it's actually crazy. You're looking at position 3 to 8 on the group ascent, and you truly do not know how these teams are gonna pan out. So far, BLG and JDG have showed us that they might be the firm 3rd place over in the LPL, but anything can change in literally 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, BLG on a massive win streak right now too. They're setting themselves up into a position where they feel like they're the 3rd best team in the league, but still not there just yet. In terms of what thresholds are important, top 4 gets you a spot automatically into the playoffs. Top 6, if you're 5th or 6th, that means you play up against a Nirvana team in the first round of play-ins. 7 through 10, you all play against each other in a best of 5 to see who makes it into the postseason. So that's kind of what each of these teams are playing for in terms of positioning, and still a lot more to be determined with more games to be played in both the Ascension group and the Nirvana group, which will be wrapping up play this upcoming weekend. But before we go, we want to give a very, very big thank you to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron, Soup, Mung, and Forrest. Without their pledged financial contributions, help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast of crew to strive to give you an English LPL product every single day. On behalf of Trouble, you alongside me as my co-caster for this one, Cubby, who was here a little bit earlier, and for Kai, who was holding down the fort the entire time on production, our entire mod staff and social team here on LPL English. My name has been Grapes. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Once again, final score of this series, Top Esports 2, Ninjas in Pyjamas 1, and we'll see you tomorrow for more LPL English.